Hey everyone, it's Kai from Cool Collectibles, back again for part 2 of my review of the new Transformers Masterpiece MP-44 Optimus Prime. The previous video that hopefully you've checked out already was the comparison of the truck mode with MP10 and going through all the accessories and so on. Now that I've done the transformation off camera, I'll get into the bot mode comparison. I'll also go through up front some of the issues with the transformation, some areas that you need to be careful of, and then pretty much finish up with my closing thoughts on the overall figure. So top to bottom, you'll see that this figure is absolutely fantastic. The paint application on this thing is outstanding. I think pretty much must be 90% of this figure is covered in paint, if not more. And the way the transformation sequence works, the engineering, design and innovation in this thing is second to none. People are saying that it's overcomplicated, it's all panelly, it looks like a mess, it's garbage, it's got QA issues. I think if you follow the instructions carefully, you watch some of the good transformation videos, like the one from Watafa, I think his name is, then you'll find that the transformation sequence is very smooth. Everything fits perfectly and clips in perfectly, and you won't have any QC issues for the most part. There are probably a couple of areas that there are paint rub risks, and I'll go through that shortly. But for now, I think just looking at this figure, I don't even really understand what people are complaining about with this backpack, because in hand, comparing it and looking at it with the overall body proportions, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that backpack at all, and it clips in and is sturdy in ways that really show the level of design that Takara has reached for this particular figure. Now, as I was saying before, I do highly recommend going through the transformation sequence carefully and slowly, and watching some of those videos, because there are probably areas where the tolerance is minuscule, but if you get it right, you won't have any issues. I think the way the whole front of the cab, for example, folds down, folds out, and then it all collapses in here. There were some photos on the Facebook groups recently, overnight, where someone was saying that their leg exploded. I think that's pretty ridiculous. They must have done something not in accordance with the instructions, because when you fold that thing out and then you do all the rotations and panel folding, etc., to fold it all up and collapse it in, it all fits perfectly. There's a couple of areas along the rear here where it all pegs in, so once it all pegs in, it feels very, very secure. So there's no risk of anything sort of popping out, and I never felt the sense that I was going to break anything, apart from when I had to clip this piece in. And the only reason why I had to use excessive force was because I was doing it wrong. And then once I followed the instructions and looked at some of the videos to realize what I was doing wrong, it worked very easily, and I'll show you that it does work very easily once I get to some of the articulation and so on. But what else were the issues in the transformation? I think the biggest area of risk for paint rub is the crotch piece here, particularly on the corners of this centerpiece, because when in the truck mode, this whole white joint piece at the bottom here is sitting right on top of this, and out of the box they have a piece of plastic to protect it, but once you transform it like this, you won't have that protection at all. So I think mine might just have a tiny little one on the corner, so you just need to be really, really careful of any sort of damage that you might do there. The other area of some common paint rub issues are these grey panels along here. I'm not sure what exactly is causing them, because they sort of fold away, but mine's probably got a little tiny one there, if you can see that, and I do have a bit of a red rub point right on the front corner there. But apart from that, those are the only 2 or 3 areas of paint issues that I've got. Everything else on this figure is just painted beautifully. This shade of red, I think every panel is painted. There might be a few pieces up here somewhere that aren't painted, but all the white is a nice glossy white. The chroming is beautiful. The navy blue here is beautiful. I think they've just done a fantastic job. The head sculpt is beautiful. The Season 2 one here does have a little bit of a bend on this right side of mine, but I'll try and heat that up with some hot water, and that should straighten up. I've seen some worse ones, and mine didn't turn out too bad. But as I was saying in the previous video, people saying that this is a production or an intentional thing, I think that's ridiculous. It's definitely an impact based on the material of the plastic that they've used. So I wish they used probably something a little bit more sturdy to keep that straight, but overall in the scheme of things it's not too big a deal. I guess all the positives that I'll be going through far outweigh a few of the minor negatives. Right, a couple of the areas of concern during the transformation, if you're not too careful. If you follow Watafaz, I think his name is, transformation video, he does it step by step as per the instruction manual, so you can't go wrong if you follow that. The collapsing of the all the cab and so on into the leg here, you just need to make sure you line it up and then push to peg it all in. Once that's done, there's no issue there. There is a part in the transformation where these parts are clipped in into a center part, and you need to hold down. I probably should have taken a photo, but Watafaz video actually shows you what to do. You hold it down, the main body down, and then you lift up these parts, and they'll lift up out of their peg and swivel out of the way quite easily. So once you know how to do that, it becomes a very easy step. And the only other step that I really struggled with, as I was saying before, was clipping this white center hinge in place. And the reason why I didn't do that was because I did not have this red lever at the back here raised up high enough, and it was stopping me pushing it down. And I was squeezing the hell out of this with as much as strength as I could, and I could not push it down until I noticed in Watafaz's video that when he moved this speaker piece up to clip in, he actually raised this up, and then he clipped it all together. And once you clip it in, what you can do to aid the articulation with that piece in, it just sort of has a very sort of a slight rotation. But what you can do is just lift it from the back here, like that. And then you see that piece come up, and then you have a much wider range of rotation. And then the front here, you see that the front is still clipped in place like that, and you see that piece there, and that was the piece that was really struggling to clip in. But once you have this rear piece lifted up properly, you essentially just hold the center part here, and it clips in just like that with barely any sort of force at all. So just be careful of how you do that, and just make sure you have this lifted up properly. And just to point out, as I was saying before, about how everything sort of pegs in place and so on, all of these panels here, so this rear panel that comes down pegs in and slots in perfectly. The bottom piece of the speaker here fits in nicely under a little ledge there, so you can see this is sort of popped out. There's a clip on the back of this that clips into this piece, so you just need to lift that up a little bit, actually pull that down, and it pegs in place and it's perfectly straight. And then all of this lines up. I can probably try and make that line up with that curve a little bit better, but this is a little bit tight, so I'm probably going to be as happy as I can be on that particular piece there. Now the only other bit of QC issues or anything like that that I found from the forums was this whole knee articulation issue, and watching certain videos, there is a particular method on how you need to articulate the knee so you don't break this bottom ratchet. So this leg here is made up of a top ratchet and a bottom ratchet, and what you will notice on the back of the leg is that there is a blue little lever here. So if I just point it out, it's this lever right there, or this little clip thing, and the same on the other side. And what happens is when you rotate the upper joint, it'll reveal a little notch that then can slide into, and that then allows the bottom joint to start rotating. So I'll just show you now. So you just need to hold it so that when you rotate it first, you're only clipping the top joint. So 1, 2, 3, and then you'll see that that ledge, that blue thing, is ready to go into the slot, and then you can then start rotating the second joint. 1, 2, 3, and then it fits like that. And then of course you have to do the reverse. When you extend it out again, you need to make sure that that blue notch comes back out. So you do that, and you make sure it 3 clicks, comes back out, and then you can click it back, the top ledge, the top ratchet, 1, 2, 3, and that's it. And you follow that, and you won't break the ratchet. What I think people are doing is that they're trying to rotate the bottom ratchet joint, and it's either shearing this blue thing off, or something is happening where that no longer moves. So the fact that that's not moving in and you're still ratcheting it means you're breaking the ratchet mechanism inside. So if you just follow those sort of tips, you won't have any issue at all with that knee joint. And I've done it a few times now with no issue at all. I think people are saying that it still stands and functions fine without it, but of course, you don't want to be breaking the ratchets on a very expensive figure. Alright, for the rest of the articulation, I probably won't go through too much. I think the arms can go in the usual sort of directions. I think there's also a butterfly joint to pull that back out, but I would probably avoid pulling that out too much, to be honest. To get it in there, you need to lift this panel at the top here, just to get it out of the way. Otherwise you're going to get some paint rub on there. So I'd probably prefer to leave this whole butterfly mechanism tabbed in, and for my display anyway, it's more than enough articulation. For the legs here, you've got the side skirts that allow him to go all the way to the sides, pretty much as far as you can go, really. The best part for me, of course, is this amazing mechanism where, in order to get the legs lifted up, you don't have to flip these anymore. You lift them up and it magically folds away like that. That's a bit of ingenious engineering on Takara's part there, and I hope they use that for many of their upcoming figures. It's unfortunate that Megatron doesn't have that due to his transformation, and it's got that sort of ugly seam and panels, but other than that, I guess that's the best that they could do. But for Optimus here, it's a beautiful solution to that particular issue. And of course it's got the thigh swivel. People still tell me that the TE version is far better than this, and yet it doesn't even have thigh swivel. I mean, $20 figures these days have thigh swivel, so I'm not sure how you can say that figure is so far better than this one when you can't even swivel its hips. People still say that is much cleaner, but I'm looking at this in front of me and I don't know how much cleaner you want it. This figure looks absolutely fantastic from pretty much every angle. People say, this backpack looks ridiculous, but I'll show you the MP10 backpack in a second, and this one isn't that much bigger at all, if not pretty much the same size. And the way that it integrates and folds in with the overall body, it just looks like it fits perfectly. The overall proportions and everything is just outstanding. So there's nothing that I can really complain about from even that backpack perspective. But on that note, I might just grab MP10 and give you guys a side-by-side comparison. Alright, so here they are side by side, and I don't know, the obvious improvements for MP44 from this MP10 version are so immediately obvious to me that it just boggles my mind that people either refuse to see it or just, I don't know, maybe it is truly subjective, but when I look at these two side by side, the first thing that jumps to my mind is that these arms are just huge. The chest is just huge. It just makes him look like a gorilla, especially because of his short and stubby legs. Now, I loved MP10 as much as anybody. Any Transformers fan, MP10 was the definitive Optimus Prime for, you know, the last 7 or 8 years. But now with MP44, I think that is so far superior. It's not even funny. Every detail, people are saying this has got so much more detail. Just think about it. All of the panel lines here, the panel lines are there. All of the details here are there. Even the highlights on the little lights here are there, but not on here. You have a bit more of the molding detail on the cab there with the windscreen wipers and so on, but that's a mechanism of how they did not engineer the transformation from the truck mode to the bot mode, whereas this version here, yes, people say, oh, that's a cheat, but it's not a cheat. It's a way of going from a gorgeous truck mode to a gorgeous bot mode, and this comparison really just brings it home for me. The arms on this one are just ridiculously oversized. They're too long, too big, and I mean, people are complaining that this one, the arms are too small. I just can't see that either. They're just the perfect proportion for this body. And even the way the legs are more streamlined. The lower legs here and the way the wheels are showing on the side, it's just, I don't know, ridiculous in comparison. People want to say clean. I mean, how much cleaner can you get these side panels here? People are saying, oh, but you can see all the panel lines. I mean, it's bizarre because when things are perfectly flat, people say, well, I want more panel lines, like they did for Inferno and Grapple. So, I don't know, people just seem to be complaining for the sake of complaining, to be honest. I just do not understand it. The head sculpts are another massive difference and a massive improvement for me. This, of course, is more true to the original G1 toy in my eyes, and this one is definitely straight out of the cartoon, regardless of which head sculpt you choose. I was talking about the backpack before. I mean, you look at these two side by side and their backpacks. You can't tell me that MP44 looks that much bigger than MP10. I mean, this was a gimmick for the gun. To be folded up and put in there, which is pretty ridiculous, I guess. And this one here, I guess most of it is this cab bit at the front here, and then this bottom half is the speaker. So, you know, people are saying, oh, I'm going to unscrew that and take the speaker out, but then, you know, you still got this whole sort of weird thing at the back here. And the way they've done it, it just integrates and folds in and merges in with the rest of the body. So honestly, I don't really see an issue at all with this backpack. Could it have been smaller? Yeah, maybe. But I think the way they've engineered it to fold away and package up and still peg in beautifully to the rest of the body is just nothing short of amazing for me. What else can I talk about in this comparison? I think paint application. I'm not sure if I mentioned the paint application. I mean, there's people are saying, oh, but there's die cast on this. I mean, the weight on this is, I don't know how much of that is from the speaker. I think there's a bit of die cast on the feet, the joint mechanisms. This mechanism on the hip here is definitely die cast. But I mean, die cast doesn't equate to quality. I don't know if it's robot collectors or what, but everything seems to be, if it's not die cast, then it's not a good quality figure, but that's rubbish. And Bandai Soul of Jokoken figures prove that. You know, they're Voltron, all the ones that I've got. I've got the Voltron one, I've got the Dialga on pre-order. I've had a mess around with my friends, one from the various Japanese cartoons that I can't even remember what they're called. But every one of them is made up of plastic with die cast in all the right strategic areas for strength, for stability, and that's exactly what they have with MP-44 here. So people complaining that it's not die cast, I think is just a non-argument in my eyes. But the amount of paint application, I mean, all of this on MP10 here is just plastic. There's a bit of paint application on the front here, I believe, but everything else here, from the legs all the way down, I think the feet might be painted, but all of this is just plastic. But every single panel or surface on MP-44 here is painted. It's incredible. The fact that not more paint chipped off is nothing short of a miracle. I mean, I think I just barely touched Ironhide and Ratchet, and some of the paint came off on those. But this one here is just amazing. So, with people saying, you know, is this upgrade worth it? In my eyes, if you loved MP10 and you love the cartoon, I don't see any reason why you won't absolutely fall in love with MP-44 and think that it is the definitive G1 Optimus Prime in the way that I do. I think it's absolutely sensational. What I might do is just go through a few of the other accessories before I forget. Hold on. People are asking if he can put his gun on the back, and yes, he can. I think there is that same mechanism where you can store it in the truck mode that I showed before. You can also do it here, which I think is stupid anyway. But I think what looks better is you can also use these couple of holes here and use the pegs here, and you just store on the side like this. So it just sort of looks like it's hanging there on his back, ready to be pulled out, and he can sort of store it looking like that. Not sure how many people are actually going to display it like that, but there you go, decent photo opportunity, and it's a very simple mechanism. While I do have the gun, putting it in the hand is not too big an issue. You get the usual MP sort of slot in the hand there, and it pegs in fairly well. I didn't have any issues the first time, but of course doing it on camera. So it pegs in fairly well, and then you just close up the hands, and that's pretty much it. And the size of it does look very good with this particular figure. The hand, now you can remove the hand off this piece. It is a little bit tricky. I did do it before. So this whole piece comes out, and the base of it is essentially where you just slot. It's like a little slotting mechanism, and then you just slot that on. So I'm not going to bother showing that, but you get the idea. Slot it on, and then you can have him swinging that around with Megatron swinging his mace around. What else is there? There's also this piece. Now I was going to give it a go, but it looks like you need to slot this top part into the gap here and then fold it down, and that whole action there does scare the crap out of me, in that is a very high risk in my eyes on some sort of paint rub issue happening there. So I'm not even going to bother attempting it, but there are plenty of photos on the forums and so on if you do want to see what that looks like. Similarly, I'm not going to even bother trying to put this on. The little pegs at the bottom here fit into the slots at the back, I believe, and it just sort of sits like that, and then you can swap out the head sculpts. But for those looking to do those photo opportunities, it's all the options are there for you to do all of that. I'm just trying to think of anything else. This sort of battle damage piece, I don't even know how to swap out that red piece, but again, I'm not even going to bother trying that. And that's pretty much it. What I might do is I just might grab MP36 over here and just finish up with a look at both of these amazing figures side by side. I mean, these two were made to complement each other. And when you see that, you can't argue that they perfectly complement each other, and Takara have done an absolutely fantastic job bringing the two of these leaders to life straight out of the cartoon. People, I think, were complaining about Megatron when it first came out, but I think it's a sensational figure, and it looks amazing. And MP10 just looked like complete rubbish next to it. But they've addressed that with this amazing release of MP-44 Optimus Prime. And I mean, they just look amazing. I can't say much more than that. If you follow the Facebook page, I'll be posting up a whole bunch of photos over the next few days with the rest of the team. But if you really are on the fence for this one, I'd say you are going to end up regretting it if you don't get this figure. I think this figure is absolutely sensational. In probably every conceivable way. I can't think of a single thing where I would say, you know, don't get it because it's not worth it or anything like that. But if you're in this sort of collecting hobby with Masterpiece figures, with 1/6 scale figures and so on, you've probably got other things in your collection in this particular price range, and the quality of this MP-44 is right up there with anything else in my collection that is in this price range. So I would say, hand on my heart, that I truly believe this is well worth the money. Don't be paying the ridiculous $500. People keep saying it. You're not bloody looking hard enough. There are Japanese retailers out there that are selling it for far less than that. You know, it's 2019. Get on the internet and look it up. You can get it for, I know so many collectors who are getting it in the US from Amazon Japan for around $320 shipped. I got this for about $340 shipped to Australia. So don't be paying $500. I'd say, okay, $500 US for this is probably pushing the limit, but for $320, it's definitely right up there with any of the solid Jokoken figures I've got, any of the Hot Toys figures I've got. It's bloody amazing. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully I covered all the main points you guys wanted to hear. Be careful with the knees. Make sure you do the top ratchet first before you do the bottom, and you can lift this up to rotate the waist a bit more to get more of that articulation. And just watch Watafa's video, please. My goodness me, if you're going to transform this thing, go slow, follow the instructions, and watch his video. Follow it, and you won't have a problem, because that video is freaking incredible. One of the best videos I've seen showing a transformation sequence. So I highly recommend it. Hopefully you like that look at this MP-44. Hopefully you can click the like and subscribe button for this particular video, and stay tuned for all the upcoming stuff that I've got as well. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.